Hello and welcome to the Remarkable CEO Podcast, a show dedicated to chiropractors who want to transform their job into a business so that they can have a remarkable practice as part of a remarkable life, not instead of one. With your hosts, Dr. Pete Camiolo and Dr. Stephen Franson.
What's up, Remarkables? Welcome back to another episode of the Remarkable CEO Podcast. I'm Dr. Stephen Franson.
And I'm Dr. Pete Camiolo.
Hey, lucky you found yourself in the second half of just an energizing conversation about recovery. If you missed our last episode, you're definitely going to want to listen to it. It's going to bring you great context and perspective for what we're going to be covering here today. This is a standalone value on its own, but man, it's a two-part conversation. And today we're going to get into the practical and tactical around how do you leverage opportunities for recovery to increase your own energy, your team's energy, and the energy of your business, right? So truth is this is the law of the jungle. This is not just a good idea. This is an energetic organism. Your business is an energetic organism. We all know the truth. We've all seen it and lived it. We can't explain it, but you won't deny it, man. When energy's up, your business is up. When energy's flat, your business is flat. And when your energy's down, your business is down. Dr. Pete, man, as the CEO, as the Chief Energy Officer, we've got to recognize that we've got that accelerator pedal under our foot. We've got to know how to influence the energy of ourselves, of our team, of our business, so that we can actually optimize our business and make the biggest impact.
So one of the things that I learned, and I learned it the hard way, and this is again picking up from where we were before, is that if you don't set up these rhythms right, you are actually putting a cap on and a lid on your capacity to have an impact in your business and in your life. And so getting this right, setting this out right, making this plan, not only the recovery plan, but the production plan actually is connected back to the recovery plan. Okay, so when you think about productivity, recovery and productivity are exactly the same. And I learned this a lot by starting to wear a little ring on my finger, started teaching me this concept. But I knew this concept from business, but I was reminded about it. If your body is the reflection, if you just you could take land as your example for context, you could take the human body. All of these things are great context to teach us exactly what a business is. A business is a living organism, is an entity that functions exactly like the farm, which we talked about in the last, and just like your body. And one of the things that I've recognized as I'm starting to pay much closer attention to my health, because now I have insight, which I never had before. I have the intel
data
that my body's ability to be ready is actually directly connected back to my recovery. So you have to recover so that you can be ready to be productive. Okay. So it's just so interesting because the paradox, you mentioned the paradox last time. It's like, well, I'm just going to be productive. I'm just going to go. It's like that actually, if you understand human physiology, is actually not how it works. And if you study high peak performing athletes and you study people that are most successful in business and in life, what you'll learn from studying them is that they have rhythms in their life. They have recovery built in. It's embedded within their daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annual rhythms. And so when you go to build out your business plan, and we're going to talk about the 3-year, the 1 year, and the 90-day, and getting focused and you and your team, and making this very practical all the way down to your schedule, on your daily schedule and your practice business schedule and all of that, you have to begin with the perspective of it's a requirement for me to build this into my life, and the belief, and if you don't know already, that your productivity is going to be a reflection of your recovery. And so the better you are at recovery, the more productive you will be. And so if you want to have a more remarkable practice and a more remarkable life, you've got to get this part right. And we're very committed to you guys being healthy, happy, whole CEOs and your team as well. So this conversation couldn't be more important.
It's so important to intellectualize this, right? Because I think for most of our listeners, this is not instinctual, right? So it's actually counterintuitive, right? So we all had to learn this lesson the hard way. And I would suggest that we're all still learning the lesson, right? So this is a continuous lesson, because as you put it, the last episode is that we love to work and we love the work. And that can be a double whammy, right? So it's like people listen, it's like, I don't know what you two are talking about. I love to work. And you don't, please don't hear any, please don't hear that any different than we love to work and we love the work. And that's the problem, right?
Yes.
Because that, we are still subject to natural laws of rest, repair, and recovery, right? So what I had to do is I had to get academic on it, right? So this is the chink in my armor, right? So diet style, yeah, I like to say I'm 100% paleo 80% of the time, right? So workouts, Pete, you and I have done lots of workouts together. Not moving my body is not my problem. It's like I love to train, I love to work out, right? So that's not my problem, right? So mindset, mind space, drive, all that it's just like literally not my problem, right? My problem was rest and sleep. Sleep and repair. So what I had to recognize was I had to actually intellectualize the fact that rest and sleep has even a greater hormonal impact than my diet style or my workout patterns or my thought life. I was like, I literally had to get that category down, because I kind of tucked sleep and rest into the move category of my life. And I was like, well, it's just like not moving. So it's there. I'm like, no. And I was like, it's easier for us to do, right? Like do a workout or do a great meal or take a supplement or, do some type of mental exercise or read a book or whatever. Not doing, wow, that's a totally different consciousness and a totally different skill set. So, if it's not your ilk, if it's not how you're hardwired, right, then you have to set up an environment that promotes this, right? Because we know the truth, environment trumps willpower, right? So you have to set up an environment, whether that's an actual environment or it's a virtual environment that promotes and creates the forced function of rest and repair and recovery. So what do we mean by that? So for me, it always starts with my schedule. Like by schedule, here's what I want you to understand is when you set goals, your goals drive your schedule. When you set goals, whether you call that a vision story or you're quantifying your vision story into actually metrics and KPIs and goals, when you set goals, you are driving your commitments to your schedule. Does that make sense? Like ultimately, be careful how you set your goals, because those goals are going to shape and drive your commitments of your time, energy, focus, and money, right? So when you set your goals, you have to set goals that are congruent with your core values and your vision story, right? So if we're going to be in alignment, which is where success lives, sustainable success lives when you're in alignment with your core values, your vision story, and your behaviors. When you set goals or cast a vision story, your mouth is writing checks that your ass has to cash, right? So you recognizing right now, as I cast this vision, I'm setting goals, which is going to demand a certain investment of time, energy, focus, and money of you and your team. This is how heavy this is, right? So it's like, all right, so be really careful when you cast those goals and then set that vision story. You're making a commitment of how you're going to spend your time, energy, focus, and money. So now that informs, okay, so what are our goals? What's our marketing calendar going to look like? Now you're spending everybody's time, energy, focus, and money. And Dr. Pete, we're talking about like that 3-year view of your business. So we cast this out 3 years. So now we're looking at the ultimate view of your business. So you're doing an ultimate commitment of your time, energy, focus, and money. So when we go ultimate, and then we draw it into 1 year out. Now it's the next iteration, right? And then there's the now, which is this quarter right now. What am I committed to? So you are literally framing out, you're setting the frame for what your next 90 days are like when you set up your next happily achievable goals for you and your team.
Yeah, this is a very sobering conversation. It's actually, hopefully it actually brings a level of, puts you more in a little of a parasympathetic state. We've got to get out of the sympathetic. We got to get back into parasympathetic. Parasympathetic, and I'll just go on this. So I had this clarity come to me last year when I realized, as I'm assessing businesses, because what we do as coaches is we consult and we coach and we support and encourage, and we align ourselves with business owners and leaders, and we help you build and scale and grow your businesses. So one of the things that I'm always sensitive to is, what's the energy of the office? What has the energy been? And what came to me was, I thought as a chiropractor about the physiological state of your energy. And when a patient would come in, I would assess them. Are these people more on the sympathetic or parasympathetic side? We know when you're in a state of subluxation, the subluxation complex puts somebody in a state, they're going to be in a sympathetic dominant state. That's what it is. I remember on my radio show, I used to get a lot of calls in when I used to say, do you have sympathetic dominant SDS? And I was like, if you suffer with SDS, give us a call right now. It's 615. I remember I used to do it. I used to explain it, and they're like, people would call. I would get all these phone calls. Be like, I think I have SDS. What is that? Sympathetic dominant state. I would explain all the symptomatology and how you'd manifest and show up like that. Well, I realized that in business, that's how we show up. We're in this place of sympathetic dominance, and that state is fine if you're going to fight or flee short term, but it's not something you, like you said, actually, it's not sustainable. And so when you look at your 3-year, 1 year, 90 days, what you actually are doing is you're doing a parasympathetic exercise. You're actually taking a step back. You're forced to pause. You're forcing the function. You're thinking and looking ahead. And you're actually asking the question, what does success look like 3 years from now? And you actually have to have an answer. Like, you can't move forward to the 1 year until you know what the 3 year is, where we want to be. And if you don't have that, it'd be really, really hard to know what is important now and what's important next and what's important ultimately. So you would have a struggle setting goals and doing any of that. So if you are struggling with that right now and you're finding yourself stuck, probably the first thing we need to do is we just need to stop, slow down, stop. Let's get a reset of the 3 years. What does that look like for you in your business, in your life? Then we'll do a 1 year. Okay, so if that's a 3 year, where do you want to be in 1 year? And then from there, where are we going to be in 90 days? I'll tell you, that'll lower a lot of people's blood pressure.
Absolutely.
Because the reason why is because we haven't done that. We stay in this state of, it's like, Stephen Covey talks about the quadrants of productivity. We stay in important and urgent, but we want to be doing, that's quadrant 1. We want to be in quadrant 2, important, but not urgent, which is I'm always doing what's important, but I don't want to be in a place of urgency. I don't want to feel that like press on me. Even though, Doc, you and I love that in a sense. We've always talked about like, oh, I like that push before an event. It's like
a little bit of pressure.
Yeah, but it's not, the pressure is good. It's just not sustainable. And it's definitely not a healthy environment for the majority of people that you're going to be having on your team. That's for sure. So, Dr. Steve, it's so important to get this right for your health, the health of your business. I'll tell you, as a CEO and the coach, I can feel it from a mile away.
I love the autonomic nervous system framework there as sympathetic versus parasympathetic. And if you bring that over to the role of the CEO, which is, that manifestation process of the appear process. So it's assess, plan, prepare, execute, assess, repeat. That's the appear process that we teach. If you listen to that, which one of these is in parasympathetic and which one of these or which ones of these are in sympathetic? But assess, look back. That's parasympathetic. Plan, that's parasympathetic. Prepare, that's parasympathetic. Execute, that's sympathetic. Assess, back to parasympathetic, right? So there's a rhythm to it, right? So we just recognize when you are actually living out your job description as a CEO, you're spending there's going to be time that you've allocated for sympathetic activity when you jump into that fight or flight, and you've designed it that way. It's like when you're in execution, it's okay that you get that heart rate up and you feel the pressure and you go, but it's structured that way. It's planned that way. It's just, I hope this isn't too nebulous for you to pick up what we're laying down here, but it's ultimately, it comes down to planning this out. So you just recognize, just like if you plan your day, hey, guess what? Today between 4:30 and 6 o'clock, I'm going to be in sympathetic. How do I know that? Because I got a date in the hell barn. Right? I know that I've got a workout coming, and you know what? That's going to be my time to put my body into that sympathetic override, right? So I am going to be out there and getting after it. But on the backside of that, I'm going to be in that new hot tub we just got, right? And I'm going to see how quickly I can get back into parasympathetic with a big, bold Cabernet, right? So, I'm just excited for that, right? Like I have that plan for the day. So guys, here's the deal. If you're going to be the architect of your life, the architect of your career, you've got to be the architect of your calendar and of your schedule. So this is how this hits the ground, right? You have to be able to plan out how are you going to commit your focus, right? So we took this beyond time management and we took it to focus mastery, and we say, this is how I'm going to structure myself. Like, I'm going to be focusing on the harvest, or I'm going to be focusing on rest, right? So when you lay out that plan, you take the 3-year view, you zoom in and you do the 1-year view. Man, that 1-year calendar, I better be able to look at that 1-year calendar and see, okay, so I can see the rhythms of your year, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be 4 even quadrants, but I have to be able to see these are the rest periods that you have allocated. I like 6 weeks vacation, frankly. I like doing 1 week off. So I'll do 12 weeks on, 1 week off, right? It's called week 13. And then we'll do 11 weeks on, 2 weeks off, right? So, and then we do 1 week off, and then we do 2 weeks off by the quarter, right? So 6 weeks vacation. And I alternate. I don't need 4 2-week vacations, but I like 2 2-week vacations, right? So I don't know about you, Pete, but it takes about 4 or 5 days to even get into vacation state, right? To come in, come sliding into home base, so you come ripping into the driveway on 2 wheels. It takes some time to just kind of chill out and cool down. So let's keep it simple. Let's call it week 13, which is you have 13 weeks in a quarter, right? 12 weeks on, 1 week off. 12 weeks on, 1 week off. 12 weeks on, 1 week off. Why do you think God put 13 weeks in a quarter, right? It's that 13th week is meant to be, that's the rest and repair, right? This is the Sabbath week, right? This is where you just tune it down, unplug, get offline, right? Get off the reservation. This is where you gather up your family, get everybody off their screens and away from your house. And you put yourself in an awesome environment that promotes rest, relaxation, and repair. Dr. Pete, week 13 has always been part of our culture and our family, in all of our businesses. And man, it's time to push that into the limelight, because I think everybody could use a little more week 13 in their life.
Yeah, I think you guys have done a really good job. I always have said that you and Dr. Camilla have done such a great job of being intentional in that way. And I know Mary and I, we've always, this has been a struggle. I would say I take responsibility for that. I don't think Mary struggles with it as much as I do. So it's really just Pete learning how to do that, to rest and to build those rhythms. But the week 13 is such a very simple framework. And we really want all of you to adopt this. I mean, if you could just have the courage this year to say, even if right now, if you're just listening to this now, for the second half of this year, and then next year moving forward, you go into this cadence of a week 13 rhythm where you're resting. And Dr. Stephen, it doesn't mean you have to necessarily go somewhere extravagant and spend a lot of money even. It's just the fact that you're resting, and there's so many different ways that you can do it. And we're not going to get into that today, but we did a whole episode, I think, on the staycation, the no-cation, the vacation,
the workation.
The workation. Yeah, there's all sorts of ones that are out there, but you have to do this. And so what I want to just hit on for a minute here, we talked about the 3 years, we talked about the 1 year, 90 days, and this comes back to goals. What I want to talk about is the daily, because what I found is that if you can get the daily rhythm right, then you have a better chance of getting the weeks, the months, the quarters, and the years right. And what I found is that when I build rest in recovery, like you just talked about the hot tub experience later on today, when you build this into your daily rhythms and you recognize the need to rest daily, that doesn't take away, okay, listen, this doesn't take away the need to rest, take that week off. You're like, well, no, I take time every day and every week to rest. I don't need to take vacation. It's not true. You need to take the time to rest. And the test will be when you do it, when you take the week, watch how your energy is. It'll take you 2 to 3 days just to wind down. At least if you're wired like me, it takes me 48 hours to just, it's as if there was a spinning wheel and they turned it off, but it was moving at such a high velocity that it literally didn't stop spinning for 2 days. Like, that's literally how it feels. And I can't go in there and jam a stick in there and stop it. I can't. You just have to let it wind down for your own health. So you have to know how to decelerate and accelerate. Yeah, because
you're going to spool back up in the last 2 days of the vacation, right?
Correct. So there's this whole art to this whole thing, but it's an art to be able to do this really well. And so what you really need to be thinking about as you're starting to make a schedule and make a plan is, and Dr. Stephen, we've talked about this, you've got to put the time that you're going to be resting into your calendar before you put your marketing on the calendar. Here's why. Because Otherwise, you're always going to have some sort of a marketing event or initiative that you got to be doing. And so you're like, well, we can't take a break then because I got this other thing I've already committed to. So you got to commit to your time, your personal rest and recovery time before you. So that's where it goes back to the goals. So before you set that marketing calendar, you got to know what your goals are, look at your goals, and within the context of your goals that you've set, build in your lifestyle first, then the marketing calendar. So that'll then change the goals associated with the specific marketing initiatives if you're going to still achieve your goal at the end of the year and not compromise you taking time to rest. And if you do it that way, set the goals, put your rest in the calendar, put your time in the calendar, then put your marketing plan together in that order. That's going to be the way that you're going to be successful here. If you don't, it's going to be much harder for you to actually build this rest into your life and into these rhythms. And then again, like I said, it comes back to your day. If you can do your day well, this is a whole nother episode, Doc, but this is to me the number one priority. It became a number one priority to me. If I could just win one day at a time, we win. We win. I have to learn how to discipline and win each day. And when I did that, that's when I start to win the week, the month, win the quarter, win the year.
No question, man.
It comes back to that. So
no question. One of my early mentors and had such an impact on my life and my career was CJ Mertz, and he continues to be an influence on me. So I just so appreciate him and his wisdom. And so many of the leaders in chiropractic today come from they have WLP and CJ Mertz in their DNA, right? So one thing that he taught me, I don't know if this is an original thought or not, and I don't care. He taught me, so he gets credit for it, which is everybody's trying to master their life, right? So in order to master your life, you need to first master your week. And in order to master your week, you have to first master your day. And in order to master your day, you have to first master your morning. And in order to master your morning, you have to first master yourself. And man, that was the kick in the ass that I needed exactly at that point in time in my life. And it's changed me. That was 20 years ago, and it changed my trajectory. And it was without a doubt, it was about mastering your morning so that you can master your day, so that you can master your week, so you can master your life, right? And that just came down to mastering myself and recognizing that this was counterintuitive to me. It was a different perspective, it was a different way of thinking. And I love F1 racing. I love car racing. In fact, by the time this airs, I believe I'm going to be just getting back from taking my son Sam down to F1 in Miami. So for the Miami F1 open wheel race, the Grand Prix for his 18th birthday. I'm so psyched for that, man. So I'll have some great stories coming back from that. But everyone knows that in F1 that you win or lose in the pit. Right? It's the pits. It's the pit stop. Right? That's literally what decides who wins, right? Period. And everybody knows it, right? So it is where and when and how you pit, where you take that pit stop that determines, your position on that track. So if we can learn from that, we just recognize that they don't show up to the race being like, I wonder if we're going to have to pit, right? They're like, man, I hope we get through this race without having to do a pit stop. It's like, man, if we could just do this race without doing a pit stop and changing the tires, it's like maybe we'll have the advantage. You could try that, but that does not end well, and everybody sees it. You can't even delay it. If you're off by a half lap, you are done. It's like, this is like such an important illustration of a strategy and being strategic about how you plan to win the race. Right. So when you want to win the race that's been laid out in front of you, whether you were taking a 3-decade view of your career or we're looking at this 3-year view of your business or this 3-month view of your life right now, just recognize that it is the rhythms of your pit stops that are really going to make all the difference in your productivity. It goes counter to every part of our hardwiring, right? So it's not just counterintuitive, right? It's counter to the way we are designed to operate as CEOs, as drivers, right? So this has to very much become an intellectual decision that I am going to plan for it. I'm going to lay out my year. I'm going to block off my periods of rest and repair and recovery, because that's going to be critical for my productivity. So Pete, I'm going to invite everybody right now. This is like, just get out your calendars, make the commitment right now that, yes, I want to master my life, right? Yes, I want to master my year. And it's going to start right here with your plan, right? So if it's not written down, it doesn't exist. You don't have a chance at doing this. If it's not a commitment that you make to yourself and you have reverence for that commitment, open up your calendar and start today. Like, look forward over the next 12 months and say, I'm scheduling it right now. These are going to be my breaks. It doesn't have to be 2 weeks off. It can be a 4-day weekend, right? So, but just start somewhere. Start right now to be able to say, I'm going to claw back some time. I'm going to recognize that I have got to schedule my pit stop if I have any chance of winning this race. Week 13, it's a law of the jungle. 12 weeks on, 1 week off. This is a critical component. It's in the DNA of having a remarkable practice as part of a remarkable life, not instead of one.
Please stick around for more business insights from this week's bonus interview with our remarkable success partner, dedicated to helping you more successfully help more people. Enjoy. All right, we are here with my friend and remarkable practice success partner, Noto Hashimoto from TrackStat, co-founder of TrackStat, also chiropractor, incredible leader in our space, and somebody who's going to help you solve your problems. Listen, you hear Dr. Steven and I on this program constantly talk about how we need to be, as CEOs, remarkable CEOs, making data-driven decisions, right? So we make data-driven decisions, data-driven meetings, data-driven trainings. It's all about data. We've got to have the right data to make the right decisions. I'll tell you what, though, Noda, you know this just as well as I do. A lot of doctors, either one, don't have the data. Number two, they don't know what to do with the data. It can be really, really stressful. So when it comes to tracking stats and reporting stats and understanding stats, this can be a real pain point for a lot of remarkable CEOs. And I know that you are here today because you've got a solution for this. So love having business conversations with other business leaders and thought leaders like yourself, and especially ones who are solving problems for doctors in the marketplace. So Dr. Noto, I want you to present like a little bit about who you are. And we're just excited to dig in, have a conversation today about how we can help doctors make their businesses more remarkable.
Yeah, like quick story about me, chiropractor, married to a chiropractor. Didn't start out that way. I was actually going to school to be a dentist, doing normal allopathic stuff, got in a car accident, physical therapy for 6 months, still had neck pain, radiating pain, sciatic pain, disc bulge. First, someone took me to a chiropractor, got better, fixed my acne. My wife actually started out as a data and financial analyst before. So she's actually very, very, very good with data. And she actually got unenamored with that and went back to school to be a chiropractor. And her grandfather was a chiro in the early 40s, all the way through to the end of his career, back in when they used to get thrown into jail. So it's, we're a chiro family. We're very vitalistic. We listen to your podcast, and I do like a lot of the stuff that you guys say. And, like with the stats, like I'm a fan of stats, but at the same time, I'm not like a fan of stats. So like the problem that a lot of times I find with stats is that they're lagging indicators. And when you're having to add them onto like a Google Sheet or some other stat tracking platform, and it's not in real time, it's even more of a lagging indicator, and you can make bad business decisions, especially if there's just humans inputting data, because humans are prone to error. Like it's, if you put in a really big number, numbers are usually 1 through 10 and someone puts in 100, it's easy to spot that. But if a number is 9 instead of 4 or vice versa, and they keep doing that over and over again, those are harder ones to find. It's always easy to spot the outliers, but like those little data entry errors, they're really hard to find, and you can make bad business decisions from that. So with TrackStat, it's really about tracking your patients in real time, like working on your patient-facing activities and automation so you could grow your stats. It was too long of a name, so we came up with TrackStat. And it's really about making life easier for the front desk, for the office manager, for the doctor, and for everyone. Like in practice, like, I started out pretty hot and heavy in practice, pretty busy chiro. Like I broke 60K 9 months into practice, which at the time I didn't think that was a big of a deal. And then now that I've been out, I realize it's like, shit, that was pretty good. So I was like, and we took our practice 3.5 to 4 mil a year for a number of years. We had 7 providers. It was complicated, very complicated. And I've always had coaches along the way, and I still have a coach, and I'm going to have a coach probably for the rest of my life because I need someone to keep pushing me. And we had like 7 Google Sheets. I had a stats tracking software. Then I had a texting platform. Then I had Infusionsoft, and nothing talked to each other. Like on the outside, we were a successful practice, but there was a lot of effort to make things work. And if someone was on vacation or someone was sick, or we had like an influx of new patients, like there was a lot of moving parts. Like we were seeing 100 to 165 new patients a month, a lot of visits, a lot of production. And it was a lot of effort to make it work. And I had to constantly inspect things to make sure things were being done. Not everything, but like you had to spot check it. And like one of my mentors said that you got to inspect what you expect. And you guys will talk about you get what you tolerate. And I've always liked that, because if your practice is kind of like the practice that you've allowed to happen. And so with TrackStat, like people need some basic things, easy ways to communicate with patients, two-way texting, online scheduling. Like I talked to some doctors that we sign up, and we'll say that they're a little bit more mature than me, but like they're just like, oh, I would never schedule online. And then, but for someone like me in my early 40s, I don't want to call the office. I want to schedule online. I don't want to talk to someone if I don't have to. If I throw out my back doing burpees or like deadlifts or something like that on Saturday and want to get in, I want to like click, 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 done. And then just move on and know that I have an appointment on Monday rather than waiting till Monday to make that call. So like there's like the online scheduling component of it, getting more reviews, which helps you get more new patients. And then like all the different things that you guys teach, like you teach your pre-shift huddle so you can see all your people for the day, your new patient tracker shows all your patients on treatment plans, who doesn't have a next visit, who's falling off. For anyone that does personal injury, we do that spreadsheet to help manage PIs. And then all the different marketing campaigns, drip campaigns, and then for any TRP people on the call, like your scorecard, vital signs. And if you're not part of that, those stats are just good for anyone to have, because like obviously you guys have thought those ones through, and I've been in a number of different consulting groups, and those are very, I would say a lot of them are very universal for conversion, retention, and growing revenue. And if you have more revenue, you could help more people. You could afford to have better staff, have a better building, buy your own building, things like that. So that's like pretty much the little gist of TrackStat. And we have a free demo on our website, but like I don't know if you have any specific questions or anything like that, Dr. Pete.
Well, yeah, I mean, I absolutely do. This is just great. I mean, I love listening to you in this conversation. I mean, I'm just sitting here smiling and nodding my head because, you're really speaking into the listening for me, because I'm in this space in chiropractic offices every day, every week. And one of the things I'm constantly asking for is stats. I'm like, let me see your stats. Yeah, because if I know that if I can see the stats, then I can give you some guidance as a coach. My job is to be able to analyze, look at the business, analyze that, and then from that, give some direction and solve the issues and grow the business. I mean, that's the goal. So you talked about a couple of things I want you to unpack just for a couple of minutes. So there's a couple of things that really stood out to me. Number one was some of the issues right now is the lagging of stats. I don't think a lot of people understand what that means. So if you just want to unpack that just for a split second, lagging, being a lagging indicator and how that can influence the bottom line directly. That was one thing. The second was, you talked about human error. And I know you have visibility probably into a lot of people's stats as well, especially as you transition from whatever they were doing to what they can do now with yours. And I'm sure you're seeing a lot of gaps in that and a lot of errors. And you did speak to that. And then the third thing you kind of talked about that really stood out to me was, this concept of, durability. You talked about, even if your CA is absent, we talk about, a remarkable practice is scalable, it's durable, it's transferable. And what you were describing was really, it really attracted me to even our conversation initially, which was we're always looking for leverage points as CEOs. We're looking to supply support for our team using technology and automation. But then also you said it's durability. So even if your CA isn't there or had to leave early, you can still have all the data delivered to you and not have to wait till the next day when, she's back in and she's trying to compile everything and get it to you. So you talked about, that, and then the reliability and the accuracy of that. So I think right there, I mean, that to me, that is really a compelling conversation, because as a CEO, that's where I think a lot of the struggle is, we're dealing with lagging, we're dealing with human error, we're dealing with, unreliability, we're not using leverage, it's too hard, and therefore we're not able to grow our businesses. We hit these, we call capacity blocks and logistical blocks, personnel blocks, and just functional blocks, system blocks because of that. And so again, you're talking about removing those interferences so these practices can grow. So a couple things, lagging, can you talk about that and human error? And then this idea of durability, I'd love to unpack that just a little bit more.
Yeah. So the human error is kind of an obvious thing. Is like you're wasting your staff's time doing data entry, and they're prone to human error. So you can make decisions based on bad numbers. And then I just, some of these docs will say is like, well, what are they going to do? It's like, they could talk to patients. They could send out like, Bethany's mom had a hip replacement. Why don't you send her, is like the mom, like a get well soon card or something like that. They could fill their time calling old patients. They could put together a workshop. They could do a lot of different things. But like getting into the lagging indicators, like, okay, well, like you talk to a lot of these docs is like, what do you need? More new patients. Like that's like I always joke, it's like every chiro thinks that they need more new patients. So it's like my wife is leaving me. Oh, I'll get more new patients. It's just like they think new patients will solve everything, or you're just looking at collections, and collections is great. But like if you were a insurance-based office, like you could look at your billing stats, right? How much are you billing now? And you're going to see how much you're collecting, 4 to 6 weeks down the road. You can look at your collection stats, and then, like there's behaviors. So like some of the things that we have in our system is like, did you enter your services? So if you didn't put in your diagnosis and services, even if you're a cash-based practice, you got to put in your services and apply that money. We've had clients that started with us and they're treating like, say, a family of 6 for a year, and they haven't been collecting, and someone's been zeroing that out. And that should be a red flag. And they're seeing all this production, but they're not getting all that collection from that. And then now you tell the patients that they now owe all this money, they're going to disappear, or you're going to write it off and they might feel guilty. So it's like, yes, you could look at billings if you want to get more revenue. Then you could look at your collections. And then there's all the little behavior things that you're going to do, all the little substats that build all those things. You're going to say, did I enter the services? Did I put in the diagnosis codes? Are we collecting on every single visit? If they're accruing some kind of a patient balance, it's a lot easier to collect that when they walked in the door before they went back than trying to collect it after the visit. And when they walked in the door, just scheduling them for their next visits. So like for you guys, you teach your clients to block book. So whenever I get a TRP client, it's pretty easy. It's like, oh yeah, we schedule them out for the year. It's like, okay, well, that's pretty nice. But like, you got to realize that your average clinic isn't doing that. So people are falling through the cracks. Or like, if you're trying to focus on like conversions, like a lot of people say is like, I want to get more conversions. I want to get more people that have started care. Is like, okay, well, let's go back to your patient experience. It's like, how many patients are scheduling? And then that's the first thing that you got to fix. Then you got to get those people to show up to their first visit. And then if they're not showing up, if they're dropping off from their first visit to their second visit, so that's a problem. And sometimes we'll see a stat where they have a high schedule rate for their second visit, but a low show rate. And that usually means that you have a pushy front desk and they're just scheduling because they don't want to deal with that confront. So like you could just really break it down, but like you have your stat, but you have all your substats, and then you have your behaviors. And It's just the little things that you do in your practice. And what we try to do is we automate that for the front desk, because believe it or not, between patients coming in, coming out, the phone ringing, and then when they have a little bit of time, I was probably the worst at this when I was in there. I just walk up and say, can you fax this? Can you do this? Can you scan this? And it just, I thought I was being helpful, but I was actually not being helpful. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think you just brought up like 5 different scenarios, which all of them probably, are landing for, you guys as you're listening to, Noda talking about this. So two final questions and we're going to wrap. Noda, thank you again so much for joining me today on the Remarkable CEO podcast and being one of our remarkable practice success partners. We're just so grateful to be working with you, and that our doctors get a chance to work with you, demo your stuff and see if it's going to be a fit. And then working with you, we're seeing so many great, responses from the doctors who you're working with. So 2 final questions. Number 1, first question is, how does your program integrate with other EHR systems? Like, there's a bunch of them that are out there. So can you bring us a little bit of visibility into that? And then number 2, do you have a demo or a way for the doctors to demo or see your product? And what would that look like for, any of our listeners here to be able to check out, to check out your product, to be able to see, what is, TrackStat like, and what's that look like for us? So if you can give us that insight, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, like the easiest thing is they just go to trackstat.org, trackstat.org. They go there, go watch demo. And then if you're interested at that point, you want to schedule a 10-minute Zoom, you just have a calendar link right on there. You could schedule it right there. And then we'll do a 10-minute Zoom, because everyone's practice is a little bit different. Even though we're all chiropractors, I find that we all practice different ways: high volume, low volume, insurance, no insurance, personal injury, no personal injury, multi-provider, single provider, multi-location. So like, that's the easiest way to kind of get a hold of me. And then, I'd love to talk to you. And then the other thing that you asked about, what was the other thing?
The other EHRs and the integration of your system.
Yeah, so the other EHRs. So right now, ChiroTouch, like any of the Genesis, like Varicol ones, and then Eclipse, and then we're going to add other ones. So we're still like relatively new in the space, but we're going to just add some more. But like, so far we've found that those are kind of like the most popular ones. If you wanted to book a demo and you didn't have one of those 3, that's fine. We started with ChiroTouch because that's what I had in my practice. And we got into the other ones because someone booked a demo, and then we had a few people book demos and requests, and then connected me with the software vendor. And then that's how we got our integration. So if you have a software that is not listed on our website, just fill out the form, talk to me. If you think you're interested, connect me with your rep, and then we'll just take it from there.
All right. Well, y'all heard it. You know what to do next. So Noda, thank you so much for joining me on the Remarkable CEO podcast. Again, thank you for what you're doing for the chiropractic profession, helping remarkable chiropractors become remarkable CEOs, turn those jobs into businesses and help more people, and help us help more people. And that's what we're in. So again, thank you for taking the time. And I look forward to seeing you again at one of our next events. Until then, God bless.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Remarkable CEO podcast. Remember, what the world needs now is chiropractic, and what chiropractic needs now is more successful chiropractors. If you like this podcast, please subscribe, share with a friend, and leave us a review. And if you'd like to connect with us personally, direct message us on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. Now go and be remarkable.